Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 22 of Ask Mortgage Mike, where I take topics that have been posed to me throughout the mortgage industry and try to educate you, the viewer, on those topics. Today, you can see we're going to discuss the mortgage process, try to outline the actual process from the time that you decide you need to get a mortgage to the time that you actually get the keys or you get the funding on the loan. So the first thing that you're going to have to realize, you're going to have to complete the application, which we've talked about, the basic applications. What's in there, right? Name, address, phone number, social security number, date of birth, property address, basic information when it comes to to getting approved for the loan. So once you have the completed application, you've settled on property, we've got the contract, all of that is said and done, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and lock the loan. The lock's going to be determined by the amount of time that you need in order to close the loan. If your closing date is 60 days away, we're going to look at a 60-day rate lock. 45 days away, 30 days away, we'll look at the appropriate time based on the closing date that's been given to us from you and your realtor. The next thing, so once we've got that done, loan is locked, we're going to send out the disclosures. And those are going to be your initial set of loan documents. There may be minor mistakes. That's your job at that point to review those, make sure that the information that's on there is correct. The very next step that you do once we send those documents out is going to be for you to sign those documents in return. Now then, we accept e-sign, so that means we'll send an electronic version of the documents for you, and then we'll go ahead and you'll be able to sign those electronically by clicking a button and then send those back. Some loans are going to require you to print out 3 to 4 pages and send those back in with an actual wet signature on there, but most, 99% of our documents can be electronically signed. So once those are signed and back in, then that gives us the authority to go ahead and proceed forward with the loan application. So now that we have your intent to proceed, once we do that, we'll go ahead and order the title and the appraisal. The appraisal will be ordered once we have the intent to proceed. That's required by federal law. Once the appraisal and title have been ordered, and of course, we have all of your documents, all right? So we've got your W-2s, paycheck stubs, bank statements, all of those things. Processor Nancy has gone through and gotten everything taken care of. Then we're going to move that loan to underwriting. So we have the appraisal's been ordered, title's been ordered. We have all of your loan documents back. We have all of your income and asset docs. All of those things have been submitted to us. We're then going to take that loan and send to the underwriter. Current underwriting turn times vary by company, but ours is generally 24 to 48 hours at the end of the month. Sometimes trying to slam some loans in for the month, we may end up pushing up to 3 days, but generally we're a 24 to 48 hour turn time or 1 to 2 day turn time on underwriting. So the underwriter is going to review all the documentation that we've given them. They're going to come back to us with what's called a conditional approval. What that means is your loan is approved with some conditions. Generally, there's not many things that we go back to you, but let's say that the driver's license we got was illegible, or they didn't like the copy of it, or you had a large deposit on a bank statement that we missed. They'll ask for an explanation on that. Some of the times we got to go back to the appraiser, right? So the appraiser put the wrong address on there, or we need clarification on one of the comps that the appraiser used. We'll go back there. So that's our conditional approval. We try to get our loans back with less than 5 conditions from the borrower, from the loan officer, from the processor that we're responsible for. So that's our goal. We do a pretty good job of doing that. So you should not have us come back to you for much of anything. So once we have the conditional approval, we clear the conditions. And then once we do that, we submit the loan back in for final underwriting and our closing disclosure. So the closing disclosure is what's required by law to go out to you 3 days before the closing. You have to accept it and acknowledge that you've received it, or your loan can't close until after you do that. So the closing disclosure will go out. We'll submit the loan back for final underwriting. Final underwriting is generally 24 hours tops. And if we have less than the 5 conditions, as I mentioned before, can actually get it reviewed in about an hour to tops is 4 hours. So within 4 hours, we have our final clear to close or final underwrite, and then we get the clear to close. The clear to close means that they've reviewed everything, everything's done. We're going to go ahead and submit the loan to the closing department, and they're going to start working on getting the closing docs to the attorney. So once we get that done, we'll send out the final docs. Usually those go out the day before closing. Sometimes things will be running behind, or we're waiting on a document from you or the attorney or the appraiser, and they may not go out to the day of, but ideally we like to get those out at a minimum of at least 24 hours before closing. So once the final docs go out, the next thing for you to do is to sign the docs. You'll do that at the attorney's office if it's a purchase, or the realtor's office. If it's a refinance, generally that'll just be done at your home. Funding. So on a purchase, once you sign the documents, the attorney's going to send us 4 or 5 pages back. And it's going to say, hey, here's all the signed paperwork that we need to review immediately. Once we review that information, we'll then authorize the attorney to go ahead and fund. On a refinance, if it is your primary residence, there is a 3-day rescission period. Does not count Sundays, and it does not count holidays as part of your rescission period. And then you would receive your funds on the 4th day. If it is an investment property, then you will be able to receive the funds the day that you close on a refinance. But so after you fund on a purchase, the next thing you want obviously is the keys. Once the loan has been funded and the attorney's been authorized to release the funds to the seller and to the realtors, then what will happen is you'll be given the keys. So again, I hope this answers some questions about the process. I know that it always seems a big headache jumping through hoops to go through everything. This is a very, very vague outline, and there are 14 minimum steps I'm going through there. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you learned something. As always, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hope you have a great week.